This afternoon, it's time for my number 15 in this countdown to number 1 for Best Rock Record of 2023. This one isn't really what you'd call rock, more pop, but it's from a prog rock legend, the godfather of prog in my opinion, and his name, it's Peter Gabriel and I.O. or In Out. Just released in December, but people have been listening to it for the whole year, and the reason people have been listening to it the whole year is because there's 12 songs on here and he's released one every month, or to be more precise, one with every full moon of this year 2023, with a new moon thrown in for good measure. Now that, I believe, is 2 full moons in 1 calendar month, if I remember rightly. I think. Anyway, so it's had a lot of publicity. It's also had a lot of history, this record, because Peter Gabriel has been working on this since the late 90s. At the same time he recorded Up in about 97, which was essentially his last studio record. So there's been more than 20 years to wait for this, nearly 23 years, something like that. 22 years, something like that. It's the 10th solo record he's done since leaving Genesis. And talking of Genesis, his voice on this is quite extraordinary. There are times when I hear echoes of Selling England by the Pound and echoes of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Now this man is 73 years of age. He doesn't really look it, but he's 73 years of age, and he certainly doesn't sound it. So there are times on this record when he sounds like a man 50 years younger than he actually is. And to me, that is extraordinary. But what about the songs? Are the songs any good? Well, I didn't listen to any of this, even though it was being released every 4 weeks or whatever it was. I didn't listen to any of it deliberately, because I thought, well, he's going to release a CD and I'll wait for that because I like physical product. So I only heard it on the 1st of December. That was the first time I heard it. It's only 2 weeks ago, or less. And I immediately liked it. And I thought, this absolutely has to enter my top 31 of the year. It has to, because I've always admired Gabriel's work, and I particularly like this. I think it's the best thing he's done since So. I think it is. I think it's the best thing he's done since So in 1986. And so did the British public. But back to that a little bit later. So what songs have we got on here? Well, we have some great songs on here. That's what songs we have on here. Let's have a look. So it starts off with, as I say, he's released everything. You know, singles from I.O. It's everything. The whole thing has been released already. So it starts off with Panopticon, The Court, Playing for Time, and the title track I.O., which is very enjoyable. Typical Gabriel, that's fantastic. That has echoes of his early 80s records, Melt and things like that, and Car. Then you've got 4 Kinds of Horses, Road to Joy, So Much, which is number 7, So Much. Very good song indeed. Then you have Olive Tree, Love Can Heal, This Is Home, And Still, which is a great song. It's number 11, And Still. And Live and Let Live, which features an African choir, but it doesn't dominate, it's just there in the background. Now, as you know, this thing has been released in two or three different formats. You've got 3 different mixes by 3 different people. Now, I've heard the so-called bright side mix and the dark side mix. I've not heard because I haven't got Apple. I haven't bought into Apple's streaming. I've not heard the what's called the Inside Mix, which is the Dolby Atmos mix, which is meant to be amazing. But the reason I've not bothered to invest in that is because you need special headphones for that, and I'm not doing that. So, out of the two mixes, I prefer, so far, I mean it's still very new to me this, I currently prefer the Dark Side mix. It's a little murkier, it's a little muddier, but you can hear more bass. And I want to hear bass. Tony Levin plays bass on this. I want to hear Tony Levin. There's no point having somebody like that, as gifted as that, on a Peter Gabriel record if you can't hear him. So, you need to hear people like Tony Levin. And to me, you do hear a little bit more bass. You can hear the vocals a bit better as well on the Dark Side mix. The Bright Side mix is the one I first heard, and I did like it, and it was very bright and very immediate and very in your face. But then I thought, right, okay, let's see what this sounds like on the other mix. And I do prefer it. It's a warmer, there's warmer tones, and I think possibly as close to vinyl as you can get without spending £40 on the vinyl. Obviously there are vinyl editions for vinyl enthusiasts like myself, but I thought, no, actually, this time I'm going to get a CD of this because you've got those two options. You can choose. For less than £20 you can choose. Now, I don't know, maybe the Bright Side mix will actually prove more popular to me in the long term. But essentially, this is a brilliant return to form from Peter Gabriel, in my opinion. I think it's superb. I think it's one of the records of the year. One of the best things to happen to music this year is Peter Gabriel finding his feet again and not doing quite so much world music and finding his pop roots again. Because that's essentially what he is, he's a pop star. So be a pop star, and that's what you're doing. Now, as far as critical acclaim goes, well, it got a lot of critical acclaim. A hell of a lot. And I'm glad, because he deserves it. He really does deserve it. It got acclaim for his songwriting and his vocals. One or two snarky comments about it being a little bit disjointed, but that's probably because there's two different mixes on it, and they both feel very different. And they do feel very different, you know. But to me, this is a great return to form. And as far as the British public goes, well, they agree, because this thing went to number 1 in a couple of countries, and one of them was the UK. So, number 3 in Austria, number 2 in Belgium, number 2 in Germany, number 2 in Switzerland, number 1 in the UK. Glad to see British people have still got some taste. And number 13 in America. So the Americans like it too, just not quite as much. So, have you heard the best release from Peter Gabriel since 1986's Soul record, featuring, of course, Sledgehammer? Have you heard it, and what do you think of it? And if you haven't heard it, why have you not heard it? It's been out all year, in bits and pieces. Overall, this is a great return to form from Peter Gabriel. I'm loving it, even if very, very occasionally he does sound a tiny bit like Roger Waters. Just occasionally. But the fact that he can sound so young, and the songs sound so energetic, and it's not all just slow meandering stuff. There's lots of good upbeat pop on here. If the radio stations had any taste, they would play it, but of course they won't. Sadly, that's Britain for you. But because of all those things, that's why I'm putting Peter Gabriel I.O. in at number 15 on my favourite or best rock records of 2023.